In the small town of Spencer, Indiana, a tragedy occurred that shocked even experienced law enforcement officers. 15-month-old Shaylyn Ammerman, a happy and smiling child, was brutally murdered. Her body was found with horrible injuries that indicated inhuman violence. It was the worst case of child torture the local police had ever seen. But who could do such a thing to an innocent child? And why? This story reveals shocking details of a crime that forever changed the lives of Shaylyn's family and the entire town. I am covering this case exclusively for documentary and scientific purposes, with the aim of informing parents about potential dangers and helping them protect their children from similar tragedies. My goal is not to shock or exploit this story, but to provide valuable information that will help prevent similar cases in the future. Don't forget to mention what city you're from and what time it is there. I'm curious to know where you're watching us from. In the small town of Spencer, Indiana, a tragedy occurred that shocked even experienced law enforcement officers. 15-month-old Shaylyn Ammerman, a happy and smiling child, was brutally murdered. Her body was found with horrible injuries that indicated inhuman violence. It was the worst case of child torture the local police had ever seen. But who could do such a thing to an innocent child? And why? This story reveals shocking details of a crime that forever changed the lives of Shaylyn's family and the entire town. Shaylyn Michelle K. Ammerman was born on December 31st, 2014 in Bloomington, Indiana. Her parents were Jessica Stewart and Justin Ammerman. For Justin, this was his first child, but Jessica already had two older sons, Gage and Blaze. At the time of the events described, Shaylyn was just over 14 months old. She had thick blonde hair, big blue eyes, and, as her uncle often said, the cutest smile in the world. Shaylyn was a lively and joyful child. She was constantly laughing, loved playing patty cake and peek-boo, and adored dancing. Her grandmother recalled that the little girl would start moving to any music, even the smallest melody. Her mother confirmed Shaylyn was a happy child who, upon hearing music from the television, would immediately start nodding her head and dancing. She was just learning to walk, and her steps were still uncertain. Her great-grandmother recounted that Shaylyn could take a few steps, but then would wobble and fall. She could barely walk a few yards without losing her balance. Her father described her as a cheerful and playful child. He especially remembered how Shaylyn, when she wanted to be picked up, would open her arms wide, connect her pinkies, and wait for someone to lift her. The relationship between Justin and Jessica ended shortly after Shaylyn's birth. They agreed on joint custody of their daughter. She spent half her time with her mother and the other half with her father. Justin lived in a small white house in Spencer, Indiana, with his mother Tamara Morgan, brother Adam Ammerman, and stepfather Danny Morgan. Spencer is a small town where about 2,300 people lived in 2016. The house was located on a quiet West Jefferson Street, near Riverside Cemetery and the Assembly of God Church. Tamara, who grew up in Spencer, always considered it a safe place. She often said, "I've lived here all my life, and we never lock our doors." When Shaylyn stayed with her father, her primary caregiver was Tamara. She was thrilled about her first granddaughter and called her the easiest and happiest baby one could imagine. In the house, besides Justin and Shaylyn, lived Tamara, her husband Danny, son Adam, and a woman named Kelly Rogers. Since all the bedrooms were occupied, Shaylyn's crib was placed in the living room, and her toys and clothes were stored nearby. This allowed Justin and Tamara to easily care for the child and also provided access to her for all house residents. Adam often had friends over. Among them was Kyle Parker, who, according to Tamara, had visited their home at least a dozen times. She considered him a good guy and trusted him. Tamara recalled how Kyle would talk sweetly to Shaylyn and play with her. She even once saw him rocking the child when she woke up and started fussing. Kyle lived with Tina Wagner and her husband in Gosport, an even smaller town 10 miles from Spencer. He had moved from there, but continued to do work for them, such as painting the garage, which he had not yet finished. Although Tamara considered Kyle to be Adam's friend, Adam himself described him more as an acquaintance or a friend of friend. On March 23rd, Adam invited Kyle over to watch television and have some whiskey. Since Shaylen was sleeping in the living room, they went to Adam's bedroom, where Danny joined them. According to Adam, they spent the evening talking about random things, laughing, and just hanging out. He offered Justin to join, but he declined, citing tiredness. Around 10 in the evening, Tamara wrapped Shaylen in a onesie with an owl pattern, gave her a purple pacifier, and covered her with a Winnie the Pooh blanket. Justin also said good night to his daughter, kissing her and saying, "Daddy loves you." Tamara checked on Shaylen several times throughout the evening, the last time around 1:30 in the morning before going to bed. Adam was already asleep in his room, but was awakened by Danny, who couldn't set up the television in his bedroom. Adam helped with the TV, after which he returned to his room, where Kyle was still awake and drinking. Adam recalled that Kyle was sitting in a chair, talking on the phone, and probably texting someone because he heard the sound of text messages. Shortly thereafter, Adam fell asleep again, but woke up when he heard Kyle going out the front door. Around 2:30 in the morning, Kelly returned home from her night shift. She left newspapers on the kitchen table and, without speaking to anyone, went to bed. Kyle showed up at the house in Gosport around 3:40 in the morning. Tina and her husband, who were already getting ready for work, were surprised by his early visit. He took a shower and cleaned himself up, which seemed strange for someone who was going to paint a garage. The next morning, around 8 o'clock, the Ammerman family woke up and discovered that Shaylen was missing. Tamara was still asleep when her son woke her up, asking, "Mom, do you have Shaylen?" She went to the child's crib, but it was empty. They searched the house, but knew that Shaylen couldn't have left on her own. She was barely learning to walk, couldn't open the doors which usually stuck, and nothing else except her was missing. Her clothes, toys, and Tamara's new laptop remained in place. There were no signs of a break-in, but the doors were open, as always. Tamara was convinced that Shaylen had been taken by a stranger. She believed that someone had entered the house and kidnapped the child. The family immediately called 911, reporting the girl's disappearance to the police. They didn't call Shaylen's mother, Jessica. She learned about the tragedy only when the police came to her home to check if the child was there. Shaylen was not with her. While the family prayed for the girl to remain alive, the police organized large-scale searches. On ATVs, they examined the bushes and surrounding areas. Special teams using sonar explored the nearby White River. The searches continued all night. Jessica appealed to the public for help in bringing her daughter home. "We've been following this story since early morning, and after several hours, Shaylen Ammerman is still missing," reported journalists. The state police stated that several persons of interest were involved in the case, and they would not stop until Shaylen was found. Reporter Chance Walser from RTV6, broadcasting live from Spencer, reported that Jessica Stewart believed her daughter, although able to walk, could not have gotten out of the crib on her own. The police also did not believe in such a scenario and considered the girl's life to be in danger. "She's a happy child," said Jessica. "Every time music plays on TV, she starts dancing. Tonight, I have one request. Please bring her home. She needs her mom." On Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock, police received a call about the disappearance of 15-month-old Shaylen Ammerman. The girl was at her father's and grandmother's house. The grandmother reported that she had put Shaylen to bed around midnight, and at 8:30 in the morning discovered the child was not in her crib. Police immediately arrived at the home of Shaylen's mother, hoping to find her there, but the girl was not there. "I fell to the floor and cried," Jessica recalled. While she was dealing with shock and fear, investigators began searching the area for any signs of the girl's presence. Police reported that Shaylen's grandmother and at least 3 men had been coming in and out of the house the previous night. All of them were questioned. Several search warrants were also issued for vehicles and houses in Spencer and the surrounding area. "No one has been detained yet," the police stated. "No clear motive has been established." Shaylen was last seen in a white onesie with owls, with a purple pacifier and a blue and white Winnie the Pooh blanket. Police urged the public to be vigilant and report any information to 8123324411. Officers and journalists tried to talk to everyone who was in the house on West Jefferson Street the night of the disappearance. Several men, including Justin, underwent polygraph tests. Mobile phones and computers were seized as evidence, and warrants were obtained to search the Facebook records of all involved persons. Tamara told journalists that she was scared and needed their help to bring Shaylen home. "I am scared. I am angry. I am frustrated. I'm scared to death for her," she said. She asked journalists to spread the word about her granddaughter's disappearance. "Find my granddaughter. Tell everyone about this." Adam and Justin refuted information that there had been a party at the house. They emphasized that it was just a visit from a friend who came over for a few drinks. When asked by a reporter when that friend left, Adam replied, "Around 3 or 4 in the morning, I heard the front door open." The couple who knew Kyle told detectives that in the past, he had shown inappropriate interest in girls aged 12 to 14. They also described his strange behavior that morning: early return, shower, and washing his clothes. He wasn't like himself, they said. He was quiet and distant. During questioning, police noticed scratches on Kyle's arms. He explained they were from a cat. In his first interview, he claimed that he left the house by 1:15 in the morning and said goodbye to Adam. "I don't know what happened to the child," he said. During questioning, police allowed Kyle to take a smoke break with his stepfather, Mike Patton. Mike recalled that Kyle told him, "The police will find out the truth when they find Shaylen's body and do a DNA analysis." After these words, Mike was certain that Kyle was responsible for the disappearance. In his second conversation with the police, Kyle changed his story. He drew a map to show where he had left the girl. He said that he and Adam found Shaylen lifeless in the house and took her to Gosport to dispose of the body. Police informed him that Adam had passed a polygraph test and was not a suspect. Kyle was arrested, and a search team was sent to the location he indicated. They followed his map through the center of Gosport, out of town, and along a long, winding road to the river. 36 hours after Shaylen's disappearance, she was found near a fallen tree in a rural area between White River and Indian Creek. Nearby was a burned pile of ash where investigators assumed her clothes and blanket had been destroyed. Justin and his family learned about their daughter's death from the news. They weren't notified beforehand. "I wish I could turn back time and save her," Justin said. "I want to know why this man came into my home, took my daughter, and did what he did." Both Justin and Adam believe that Kyle did not act alone. "He must have had an accomplice," Justin said. "Our family is peaceful. We have nothing to do with this." On March 25th, a candlelight vigil in support of Shaylen's family was held at the Family of God Church in Spencer. Originally planned as a prayer for Shaylen's safe return, after she was found dead, it turned into a memorial service. More than 100 community members came to write the girl's name on pink balloons and unite in prayer during this difficult time. The organizer urged the crowd to pray for one another, for Shaylen's family, for comfort, and for answers to questions that remained unanswered. The story unfolding in Spencer continued to shock. Police were still seeking explanations for how and why 15-month-old Shaylen Ammerman's life ended so early. One person was already behind bars, but investigators did not rule out the possibility of new arrests. While detectives worked, Shaylen's family was preparing for her funeral. In the evening, more than 100 people gathered to honor the memory of the little girl in a town gripped by grief. If there was anything good on this Good Friday in Spencer, it was how residents united in hard times. The family gathered in Spencer Cooper Park with pink balloons with Shaylen's name written on them. Being a parent, especially for the first time, is very hard right now, Justin said. "I wish I could turn back time." Besides the father, mother, grandmother, and other relatives, strangers were also at the gathering. Many simply felt the need to be there to support a family that had lost a child who hadn't even had a chance to start life. "Pray for each other, Pray for the family, pray for comfort, pray for answers, the organizer urged. Sharon West from the Family of God Church said she organized this prayer meeting because she felt the need to do something for Shaylen. It all seems so surreal, like a dream, she said. Shaylen's grandmother recalled how hard it would be to return home and see the girl's things, including the new Easter dress and shoes she had just bought for her first granddaughter. In the precious name of Jesus, and all God's people said, "Amen," she concluded. The police continued to look for the answers everyone needed. They obtained a warrant to search Kyle's car, which was in the garage of the house where he lived with his friend Tina and her husband. Kyle had cleaned the car and thrown some things into the garage. Tina recalled how she regretted allowing Kyle to live in their house. "This situation haunts me," she said. "I'm very upset that I feel like I was also involved in this." Although police were looking for an accomplice, none was found. Kyle never confessed to the police, but during his stepfather's visit to the jail, he told him about the crime. According to stepfather Mike, Kyle said he took Shaylen from the house alive, drove to Gosport, stopped on the way, brutally hit her, and then strangled her with a cloth. Afterward, he poured bleach on the body and burned her pajamas, pacifier, and blanket. Kyle also said that he acted alone and did not plan to spend his life in prison. Instead, he stated that he intended to kill himself. In jail, Kyle was under constant video surveillance after his threats. He was placed in a padded cell, issued a special safety sleeping bag, and checked every 15 minutes. On March 28th, he was charged with murder, assault, strangulation, kidnapping, aggravated battery, and other crimes. Owen County Prosecutor Donald Vandermoor acknowledged the complexity of this case involving a young and innocent victim. "It's so horrible that adult law enforcement officers just wince in pain," he said. The prosecutor called the charges horrific, noting that law enforcement should never have to face such crimes. "This is just a horror," he said, emphasizing the severity of the case. The scale of the crime became clear after the release of Shaylen's autopsy results. Her body was sent to Louisville, Kentucky, where the examination was conducted by Donna Stewart, a specialist in pediatric cases involving sexual assault and battery. She described it as the worst case of sexual trauma she had ever seen. Shaylen had numerous bruises and other obvious injuries resulting from violence. The cause of death was determined to be homicide by asphyxiation. Shaylen's family was having a hard time coping with her loss, which became an even greater tragedy because of what she had endured. "So many emotions that you can't even point a finger at which ones you're feeling," said grandmother Tamara. "One minute you feel disgust, then anger. We didn't want to hear that she suffered." Shaylen's mother, Jessica, was haunted by thoughts of her daughter's final moments. "Every day, images come into my head of what that night was like for her," she said. "There's nothing he can say or do for me to forgive him." In her statement directed at Kyle, Jessica said, "You took my loving, sweet, and beautiful daughter from me, her brothers, her dad, and everyone who loved her. I hope you live with your guilt, and it torments you for the rest of your life." Shaylen's father, Justin, said the girl was his only child. "When I heard all the horrible things he did to my daughter, I wanted to die too," he confessed. Shaylen's uncle, Adam, believed that Kyle deserved the highest punishment. "Whoever did this should burn in hell," he said. "There's no need for anything like this to happen." Prosecutor Vandermoor worked for a year to build a case that could end in the death penalty or life imprisonment for Kyle. However, the case fell apart, and on February 28th, 2017, Kyle appeared before Owen County Circuit Judge Lori Thatcher Quillen, who accepted a plea deal. This agreement included only charges of murder and kidnapping. All charges related to sexual assault were dropped. The prosecutor explained that there was insufficient evidence against Kyle. Shaylen's clothes were burned, so there are no traces on them, Vandermoor said. Nothing remained but ashes. Despite Kyle's statements to his stepfather, none of his DNA was found in more than 100 potential pieces of evidence. The laboratory also found no evidence of bleach, although Kyle claimed he had used it. The only convincing evidence related to a third party, not Kyle Parker, the prosecutor said. The police conducted 3 polygraph tests, and 2 people failed. The prosecutor did not name these individuals, but it was clear that it was someone other than Kyle. Judge Quillen accepted the plea deal. "The facts of this case were the worst I've ever heard," she said. "Your actions that evening were pure evil." Kyle Parker was sentenced to 60 years for murder and 16 years for kidnapping, to be served concurrently. According to Indiana law, he must serve about 75% of his sentence before becoming eligible for parole. Shaylen's funeral was held on March 30th, 2016 at the Christian Life Center in Spencer. She was buried in a white dress with a purple jacket, and attendees were encouraged to wear her favorite colors, pink and purple. More than 100 people gathered to honor Shaylen's memory. Those who could not attend were asked by the family to place a pink or purple light bulb on their driveway in her honor. "Always smiling, so full of life." These words were used when family, friends, and the Spencer community gathered to remember little Shaylen Ammerman. Mike Pelton was broadcasting live from the Christian Life Center in Owen County, reporting on the latest developments. Mike Pelton reported from a scene. "This is open to the public, but the family asks that you wear pink or purple, Shaylen's favorite colors." The scene was filled with emotions. Several law enforcement officers helped organize logistics for the family, as the parking lot at the First Christian Church was completely full. Visitation continued until 7 in the evening, after which the funeral began. Last week, Shaylen Ammerman was found dead. Court documents accused family friend Kyle Parker of taking her from her father's home and killing her. In the small town of Spencer, this case left a deep wound. Today, signs saying "Rest in peace, Shaylen" could be seen all over town. In an emotional interview, a woman who was a close friend of the family tried to recall that famous smile that Shaylen always wore. "It's terrible," she said. "We're slowly trying to get through this, taking one day at a time." She added, "I understand what Jess feels because I constantly put myself in her place. As a mom, I understand her pain." During the visit, she was told that Shaylen was dressed in a white dress and a purple jacket. Her funeral was scheduled for 7 in the evening at the Christian Life Center. Organizers expected a large number of people and encouraged the public to come. Those who could not come were asked to buy a pink or purple light bulb and place it near their home to show support for Shaylen and her family. One of the family's friends admitted that it was hard for him to make himself come. "I feel sick just thinking about it," he said. "It's difficult." Tensions were high, but the presence of the police prevented anger from getting out of control. Another attendee noted, "You can feel the tension in the air. People are saying some things, but I'm not here for that." After the funeral, a private burial ceremony was held at Chambersville Cemetery in Spencer. When such terrible tragedies occur, local organizations often ask what the public can do. Sandy Runkle, director of Prevent CA Indiana, gave advice on this case. She reminded that in most cases, crimes against children are committed not by strangers, but by those whom the child knows. "More than 90% of the time, it's someone the child knows," she said. "Parents should be careful about who has access to their children, especially when it comes to drug or alcohol use." She emphasized that parents are responsible for checking the people who get access to their children, whether it's a friend, family member, neighbor, or acquaintance. Shaylen's mother, Jessica Stewart, wrote a letter that was presented to the judge during the hearing. In it, she described the pain she feels every day. "My name is Jessica Stewart," she began. "I am the mother of Shaylen, a beautiful, smiling 14-month-old child who was taken from us in a cruel and senseless way. Writing this seems surreal, like a bad dream I can't wake up from. But this is my reality." She recalled how a year ago, she could hug, kiss, feed, and dance with her daughter. "There isn't a day or minute that I don't miss her," she wrote. Shaylen will never have the chance to start running, talking, going to school, falling in love, or having children. Jessica described how hard it was for her to imagine that someone could be so cruel to her daughter. She was always happy, dancing and smiling, she wrote. I don't understand how and why someone would want to take this beautiful girl from this world. She expressed her belief that the person responsible for her daughter's death deserved the maximum punishment. The punishment he faces may provide some justice, but there is no punishment that could erase the devastation and loss we feel, she concluded. This tragedy reminds us of how important it is to be vigilant and careful when it comes to the safety of our children. Here are a few key tips that will help avoid similar situations. Check your child's surroundings. Always know who has access to your child, even if they are friends or acquaintances. Teach your child about safety. From an early age, explain to your child how to behave with strangers and when to say no. Be attentive to changes in your child's behavior. If a child suddenly becomes withdrawn or frightened, this may be a signal. Discuss important topics. Talk openly with children about what is safe and what is not. Do not leave children unattended. Even in familiar surroundings, always make sure that the child is supervised. Moral: every child's life is the most precious gift, and it is our responsibility to protect them from any harm. This story is a reminder that even in seemingly safe surroundings, dangers may lurk. Be knowledgeable, vigilant, and always act in the interests of children. Thank you for watching Detective Brooks' channel. If you found this material useful, subscribe to the channel to receive more important stories and tips. Together, we can make the world safer for our children.